Okay, in a 2025 NFL draft that wasn't exactly flush with QB talent, Cam Ward is in a league by himself. And in fact, he may be one of these generational quarterbacks that is playing in a rarefied air. In today's show, I'm going to give you my reasons why Cam Ward was ready to shine and ready to roll before he even stepped foot on the Titans practice field. This is QB Unfiltered, my take. This dude is different.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Okay, before we begin today, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate the support. Cam Ward, 6'2", 225 pound-ish, out of the University of Miami. Taken with the first pick in this year's draft, selected number 1 by the Tennessee Titans. By now, I'm sure that you've all seen the clips from the various rookie mini camps that went on with the 13 drafted QBs and clips of them practicing. And in my opinion, most, if not all of these guys give off the same aura and the same vibe about them. And that is a little unsure, a little nervous, a little careful mentally, learning a new system, not wanting to make mistakes, a little careful throwing the ball. And I used to call it aiming the ball or guiding it. And you just tell when a quarterback's doing that, trying to be too careful when they throw it. They're not cutting loose with throws. And also a little stiff and a little bit slow with their footwork. And again, that's to be expected. And this type of behavior is seen almost on a yearly basis by rookie quarterbacks. But Cam Ward is different. I watched every one of his clips in that mini camp by the Titans, and I didn't see any of those characteristics that I just talked about. He looks like the man. He looks like the first pick. And he looks and carries himself like the franchise quarterback. It is very rare to see a rookie QB come in who, before he even steps foot on the field, may be better than a number of existing current starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Cam Ward is that guy. So what makes Cam Ward ready to roll right now? What makes him a generational quarterback? I'm going to go over these points with you. And at the end of this video, please hit me up in the comments and let me know what you think about this. All right, here we go. Number 1, his mental training in regards to the passing game. Now, this is 100% air raid related. Okay. Quarterbacks that play in the air raid in college, and Cam Ward, his entire college career, 3 different teams, Incarnate Word, Washington State, University of Miami. All 3 of those teams ran the air raid system. So for the last 5 years, Cam Ward has been operating in that system. Quarterbacks that play in the air raid have a leg up when they come into the league over other rookie quarterbacks. So what makes air raid quarterbacks so special? Well, the whole air raid principle is built around QBs making great decisions when the ball's snapped. Now, I've done videos on this before where I've talked about the number 1 skill that any quarterback has to have. It doesn't matter what level you're playing at, is the ability to be a great decision maker when the ball is snapped. If you're not a great decision maker, it doesn't matter what kind of arm talent you have. It doesn't matter what you can do with your legs. If you can't make great decisions, your offense is going to sputter. The air raid, it is built around quarterbacks making great decisions when the ball is snapped. And I'm talking about the passing game here now, okay? So when you see these QBs that are throwing in the 75 percentile or higher completion percentage, those are guys that are making great decisions, right? And it's based on these following categories, which I think are absolutely huge in the passing game and not every quarterback in the NFL understands it, and that is this. Air raid guys, air raid quarterbacks understand space and grass. Okay, that's just open area, right? Space and grass. And then they also understand leverage, talking about putting the ball on the right shoulder or the left shoulder of a receiver who's got a defender out leveraged, right? That's big in the passing game. And then the last thing is anticipation of throws. Your receiver is the most open on any route at the top of his stem. If he runs a hitch route at 6 yards, he's the most open at 6 yards. If he runs a curl route at 12, he's the most open at 12 yards. Okay, if he runs a bender route, that quick little post that's usually run by slot receivers, he's the most open as soon as he clears that slot defender. And that should make sense to you guys, because after he tells the defense where he is going or if he is stopping, now they start to converge on him, and now he's not as open. Well, quarterbacks with horrible anticipation or average anticipation, those are the guys that end up completing balls and having their receivers tackled right now, or having balls batted down because they're getting out of the hand late because the anticipation isn't good. Air raid works on those 4 skills mentally, okay? Grass, space, leverage, anticipation. And with the air raid system and Cam Ward, he spent every day in practice all week long during the season, all season long for his entire college career, doing drill work and teamwork, which worked on that, right? Grass, space, leverage, anticipation. And now you go into the other part of the air raid, and in order to be a 75% completion QB and move the sticks, you got to understand defenses. So we're talking about fronts, we're talking about blitzes, and especially we're talking about coverages, right? Understanding what coverage structures look like before this ball is snapped. Because if you know what the defense is doing coverage-wise, it's easy to complete balls. It really is. But you'd be amazed at how many quarterbacks struggle with that. And again, the air raid's working on that consistently and constantly all day in practice, all week during the season, okay? Reading defenses. And now, why does this put Cam Ward at such an advantage? Well, this may surprise some of you. It may shatter some notions that you have about the NFL, but this is what happens with quarterbacks. When they enter the NFL, what they know knowledge-wise on all the things that I just talked about, that's really as good as they're going to get for their entire NFL career. In other words, what you see from NFL quarterbacks is what they come into the league with. So when you watch games on Sundays and you're going, shit, get the ball out of your hand. The guy was wide open. We threw the ball late. You threw to a guy who was covered. All of those things. Those are mental deficiencies that a lot of quarterbacks bring into the NFL with them, and they stay with them for their entire career. Let's move on to number 2, physical skills. Cam Ward is big and strong, and where this comes into play for him and really helps him out is in the pocket when shit is breaking down. He is strong enough to step out of a lot of sacks. So his size and strength in the pocket really helps him out when the pocket environment breaks down. Okay, physical skills now, pocket management, that's huge. Pocket management is what a quarterback does when he's not able to take his drop and throw in rhythm and tempo, where he has to move around in the pocket, buy himself time and get in position to deliver the ball. That is pocket management. It's moving subtly side to side, or climbing the pocket subtly, or shuffling away from the line of scrimmage subtly and under control. in order to put yourself in position to throw the ball the way you want to throw it, or to slide to get yourself in a gap. That's why, the old wives' tale about your quarterback had to be 6'6" to throw over the top of offensive and defensive linemen. That's horse shit. Quarterbacks throw in gaps, right? And that's why you see QBs that are 5'10", 5'11", 6 feet that have no problem throwing the ball in the pocket. You throw the ball in gaps, in lanes, and pocket management. A lot of times you got a big ass tackle and defensive end that are standing in between you and that open receiver. You just slide to the right or slide to the left a step or two, and now you've got that open lane where you can cut it loose. The other thing that Cam does with his pocket management is when he is forced to throw off platform. I'm talking about now he is on the move trying to get out of something, and he's able to throw the ball while he's on the move in the pocket and be really accurate, or escape the pocket and throw it on the run, or escape the pocket, pat his feet down because he's got time to do it, get his base set up and get rid of the ball and throw it accurately. He does a hell of a job with pocket management. Okay. His arm is elite. Now I want you to check out these clips here. If you ever have a chance to watch film of a quarterback shot from field level, so the camera's on the same plane as the quarterback's on, or you can watch a guy in person throw the ball from field level. The elite passers, the ball comes out of their hand different than other quarterbacks. Cam Ward in some of these clips, this is what jumped out at me when I was watching him with Tennessee. He's throwing just a couple of these balls from ground level. Those throws just look different from the other quarterbacks. It's hard to explain, okay? But, I go all the way back to Broadway Joe Namath, who didn't necessarily have the greatest mechanics in the world, but when it was time to get the ball up and out, man, did he look different when he threw the ball. Same with Dan Marino. He just looked totally unique in how that ball came out of his hand. Cam Ward is the same way. That's what I'm seeing. He has great arm talent. Now, with that arm, his arm slot coming over the top is like 12 o'clock. Most quarterbacks, and I'm telling you this from a left-hander standpoint, most quarterbacks are at 11 o'clock. Cam's at like 10. Okay, he's at 10. He'll also throw the ball at 9, right? And I've seen throws this year and at Washington State where he's throwing it like at 8, which is almost underhand. And he has the ability to change his arm slot to match the environment that he's throwing in. So a lot of times when you drop down to 9 o'clock, you're throwing around a defensive guy where if you were delivering it up here, he has a chance to bat it down and you're going to hit him right in the face with the ball. You drop down and throw it to the side of him, like almost under his armpit, right? Now, one of the things that I got frustrated with Cam with this year is I thought there were times that he dropped down and threw at 9 o'clock when he didn't need to. Okay. And a quarterback is always his most accurate when he's throwing his natural arm slot. And again, with Cam, that's at 10 o'clock, right? Or as a right-hander, him throwing, that's at 2 o'clock. That's his natural arm slot. So, but he can throw it however you want to throw it. He makes all the throws. I think his best throws, in my opinion, are the deep out, which is called a sail route, the deep out, and then seam verticals, usually run by a slot receiver or a tight end. So he can make all the throws, and he's a hell of a screen thrower, right? Tossing hand grenades, playing shortstop in baseball, turning the double play. where he can get the ball. And in a lot of those punch screens that you see him throwing, he doesn't have the laces. So you don't have time as a quarterback to catch the snap and spin the ball in your hand to get the laces. So you got to have that skill and ability to catch the ball and throw it without the laces and throw a spiral and be accurate. And he can do that. He can do that in the quick game, and he can do it with the screens. Okay, number 3, composure and demeanor. This one sets him apart from a lot of QBs. Cam Ward stays on a level plane the entire game. His facial expressions and his demeanor really never change. Now, he's going to celebrate a little bit when he throws a touchdown pass or offensively they score. But there were a lot of times this year where he threw a pick and he threw a touchdown pass the next drive, and you couldn't tell the difference in his demeanor, facial expressions, body language, any of that stuff. And that is huge, okay? Every team that I've coached went this way. And I know that Miami was this way, and I know Tennessee's going to be this way because this is the way it is. When bad shit happens, when adversity hits, especially if it's offensive adversity and especially if it's QB created adversity, throwing a silly pick, fumbling the ball after a scramble, whatever. As soon as adversity hits, everybody on the team is going to look to see how the QB handles that situation. The guys that have the even keel and the great body language, facial expressions like Cam Ward, man, that is valuable to the team because they're going to take their cue from him. Okay. And there were examples this year of drafted QBs who had absolute meltdowns in games where they just lost their mind and they were worthless for a few series or for the rest of the game. That's how important that is. Now, as far as that goes with composure and demeanor, there are a lot of rookie QBs that come into the league that are a little bit fragile upstairs. They can't handle the media, and that's the biggest difference. That's why I'm saying, Jackson Dart in New York, man, is this going to be a test for him because you got sharks swimming in the media there. And you've got a lot of fragile quarterbacks throughout the history of the NFL that couldn't handle the media getting in their dish. And so I think Cam has got such a mature, strong constitution in the head and in the heart that stuff's not going to affect him, which puts him ahead of the game. Okay, number 4 is leadership. His coaches and teammates said this about him at Washington State, and they also said it at Miami. Within 24 hours of him stepping on campus, on the practice field, in the locker room, it was his team. And that is leadership, and that's the way that he handles himself, carries himself, and projects onto his teammates. His leadership is through example, and it's not boisterous, right? He's going to lead through example, but when he speaks, people listen to him because he does what he says he's going to do, and he holds his teammates accountable, and he holds them accountable knowing that he's requiring them to play the same way he's going to play. A lot of coaches at Miami say he was the first one in the film room and the last one to leave the weight room. So again, it's by example. He wants to be good. He understands the process in being good. He understands how to get to where he wants him and his team to go, and he's going to make sure that his teammates are following along with him. Cam Ward, with his leadership, he's not selfish. This isn't a self-centered quarterback where it's me, me, me. So you watch how he handles himself with the media. Again, that's a form of leadership. You can project a lot of stuff to your teammates with how you talk to reporters and what you say when a microphone's jammed in your face. So when you listen to Cam Ward talk after practice or talk after games when he was at Miami, he was either talking about his offensive line, his receivers, or his running back. It wasn't about him. Okay. And again, that's a form of leadership. I just think his maturity level coming in is so good and right on task that it's going to really allow him to take control of that football team. Okay. And then number 5, this one is miscellaneous. You know, I've always said that the categories that I have for QB play is mental, physical, leadership, and miscellaneous. The first 3 are kind of easy to define. Miscellaneous is a little less easy. A lot of it is character. And with Cam Ward and his character, I think it boils down to a few things, you know, and this has been talked about by other people, but he comes from a great family, right? Great values taught, listening to his parents speak and the support that they gave him throughout his career. You can just tell, you know, it's understandable why he's such a solid guy, and he is a solid guy, and that's huge for your quarterback. Okay. The last thing with miscellaneous is Cam Ward is one of these guys, one of these quarterbacks that is totally committed to his craft. Okay. So I go back to these guys that are doing stuff off the field that takes away from what their playing ability is or what the team's all about. It's look at me stuff. You know, it's just stupid. Cam Ward is all about, playing football and being the best quarterback he can be, you know, getting better at his job, leading his team to the playoffs, winning championships. He's all about that. You know, he is not going to be doing anything that is going to be front page news or on TMZ or, you know, in the National Enquirer, any of that stuff. He's all about getting better as a quarterback and winning football games. With all this being said, there are going to be other factors involved with how quickly and how successfully Cam Ward is this year and next year moving forward with the Titans. Okay. You've got coaching staff, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, head coach, huge. I'm going to do another video down the road called With Quarterbacks Coaching Matters. Man, does it matter. You've got coaches throughout the NFL history that have really screwed up quarterbacks, really screwed them up. And if you want an example of that, do your research on Alex Smith and what he did with the San Francisco 49ers early in his career, and then what he did when he was traded to Kansas City and boom, took off, flourished. Coaching matters. So I said in my last one that I thought that Cam Ward's going to a pretty good situation with the coaching staff. And I also think that he's got enough skill that he can overcome. Scheme is also big. And as I said earlier, I anticipate Tennessee, you know, bringing in some of the schemes that he ran in college. He's real comfortable and really, really good at running those. And then the surrounding talent, you know, there's a reason why Tennessee was drafting with the number 1 pick this year. And that's because they had a horrible season last year. So the talent around Cam Ward isn't going to be as good, hopefully, as it's going to be a year or 2 or 3 down the road. But as I said, I think that his generational talent, just him, is going to be good enough for him to make a pretty immediate splash with the Titans. Okay, as I said at the beginning of the video, it's, you know, rare when you get a generational QB that comes in that is head and shoulders above everybody else and just has that it factor, but that is Cam Ward. Okay, let me know in the comments what you think about this, your thoughts on Cam Ward and what he's going to do. This is QB Unfiltered. And remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I don't ever slow up. don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this,